is possible for everyone to win. You always want to start with setting up the conversation, the confrontation, the communication where it gets to be a win-win for everyone. And the only way that can actually happen is you so deeply considering you and so deeply considering the other person. Well, hey, everyone. Welcome to Legendary Love, day 2 of 3. I'm Gina DeVee, and I'm here with my husband, Dr. Glenn A. Sisk. Come on in, say hello in the chat. We always love seeing where you are zooming in from and what you are looking for in either attracting love or transforming the relationship that you're in. Let's just kind of get it all out there. What are some of the pain points, the struggle areas, the thing that you just don't want to have to deal with anymore, or the thing that you wish you knew you had the key to or had the answers to? You know, we are all here to learn and grow, and relationships are teachers. And so the more open you can be, the less perfect you need to be. There's not a right or wrong with relationship. And what we're here to do over this 3-part series is really help you get a greater sense of identifying what kind of relationship do you desire to be in, and then becoming the vibrational match to that. Now that sounds simplistic, and of course there's lots of subcategories and techniques and details and tools and all that good stuff. But I just want to see, after we had such a brilliant time together yesterday, how amazing was that? For you to really understand that if you're feeling invisible in a relationship, that it's because you weren't seen. And when you do that deep work that we were talking about yesterday to love yourself and see yourself, then others will see you too. But let's see what's going on with relationship in the community. I'm dedicated to ease, grace, and being in my feminine. I love that. All right. And I need the key to patience. Excellent, Jessica. Negotiating and asking for what I want. Well, Heather, today is communication day, so you are in the right spot for sure. How to be the woman who will attract the ideal man free of BS and dishonesty. Excellent, Ellen, raising your standards already. Amy says, shared values, leaning into my feminine and queenhood and inspiring my husband to lean into being a king. Love that. Carla is looking for transformation to be more in her feminine, get out of codependent behavior, stop the toxic patterns. Regina, hey there, gorgeous. I'm here to trust and love myself fully and stop altering myself to be loved. And it keeps going on. List it all out.
Easier growth. Yeah, easier growth in the relationship. We're growing, but we both need more. I'm sure that's true for a lot of people out there. Yeah.
For sure. Keep them coming. I want to see what you're looking for to transform, because when you name it, it comes out of the shadows and it becomes less scary. When you put those words into the chat, you are creating dominion over them rather than them having ownership over you. So we're going to dive right in because we want to respect your time, and we have a lot to get through today. The communication piece is so powerful in relationship dynamics. And speaking from a place of understanding women in so many countries and cultures and ages and different dynamics, communication is one of the most disempowering places in the relationship. Finances can be one of them for sure, but lack of communication, lack of permission, lack of clarity, miscommunication, all of the power that is in a word, when it is either hidden, when it's warped, when it's gargled, when you're not even seeing it for yourself, let alone able to communicate it, This is the game-changing piece. This is absolutely the game-changing piece. When I've worked with women in my private sessions or masterminds through the years, so oftentimes we'll do role playing. And because when something hasn't been modeled for us, we don't even know what we're supposed to say. We don't even know if it's okay to say that. Can you really say that out loud? Or am I going to offend someone or hurt someone's feelings or make a sticky or tumultuous situation even worse? And so my whole prayer and intent, and I'll let my husband speak for him on what his prayer and intent is for you today, but my whole prayer and intent is that you gain such command over your words that you are able to elegantly speak the truth in love. There is so much power in being able to so deeply be there for yourself and the other person. And society does not teach us this in communication. Society teaches it's my way or the highway. Take the bull by the horns. It's us against them. It's all this either or mentality. So I'm going to get into more of this later on in my portion. But I want you to know that if you feel disempowered in communicating, we're going to unleash kind of some of the types of communication that are out there, and we're going to get you into alignment with your own communication. So Glenn, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, I suggest you take a stand for the and, as my wife coined that phrase. You get to have what you desire, and nobody can tell you that you can't have what you desire except yourself. And really my intention for today is, as Gina talked about, getting the communication skills down. And I'm here from a man's perspective, so I can give you some insight into what we're like and how to bring your man out of it or your partner out of it, whoever's in a relationship now. And for the ones that, and I love all the comments in chat, like you're all like, you're telling the world what it is that you desire. You're telling the spirit what it is you're desiring. And that is a key part of this whole process, is just to continue to spin around those thoughts in your mind over and over and over again. And not the old story, but the new story, the new vision of yourself, the new you, who you desire to be. That's the key to this whole thing, to really stay in the future of who you desire to be. And you'll find miracles happening as a result of that. And that's really my intention, that you get on a new wave of who you are, who you desire to be, and start bringing that to you. And I agree with Gina, communication is the key. That's one of the pillars of a great relationship, is having great communication. So I'm ready. Let's move. Let's go. Let's do it.
Cool. All right. So there's so many different types of communication and relationship, but I'm going to go through the ones that I see to be the most common. And we touched on this yesterday when we touched on the invisibility piece. So anyone that's feeling invisible in relationship, go ahead and drop it there, because we're going to get you out of that invisibility piece. But I want you to name it and claim it so that you can move through it. And when you feel invisible, your communication is very ghost-like. So one type of communication is the ghost, where you either don't consider yourself, you don't even know what your preferences are, you don't know what your wants and needs are, or you've just already asserted that it's not safe to speak what your wants, needs, and desires are. It's not acceptable. It wouldn't be well received. So you just don't. You literally become this ghost with communication. And it's a very vulnerable place to be, because it's just a way of handing over your power. It's just a way of not acknowledging yourself. It's a way of not giving yourself permission to be who you really are. And I see it left, right, and center in myself. And to this day, I still have to catch myself. Do you know a ridiculous area that it shows up for me? Dinner. If we go to dinner with friends, it's not like this for me and Glenn. If we go to dinner with friends and the server asks still or sparkling water, do you know that I will sit there and wait and see what the table wants? I don't like still water, not at dinner. I like sparkling water. And it's only been recently that I'm like, they can get still water if they want still water. I want sparkling water. So it's like just seeing if I'm ghosting myself in this benign, ridiculous $3 situation, like how many other areas have I not spoken up on behalf of myself? So particularly in intimate relationship, first of all, it is a requirement that you create an emotionally safe place for yourself in a relationship dynamic. So I'm not saying stop being the ghost and go bare all and put your heart out there, because it could get put through a blender. And that's not having wisdom and discernment. So, and I'm not saying that you need like everything's got to be so tight and safe and secure that you like live in this little cave. And I want you to have an assessment around what would have you feel safe in communicating. It might be a certain amount of information. It might be a certain type of information. It might be a boundary that you desire to set. But whether you're in an emotionally safe relationship where I can say anything to Glenn, and I'll share with you some of what that looks like. Not that everything I say is what he wants to hear or is even his preference. But we've set it up so that we get to be who we are, and we have this very huge emotionally safe container. So that's what I have with my romantic partner. And if that's what you desire, we're going to help you create that if that's possible. Not everybody is emotionally safe. Some people have personality disorders. Some people are hurting so badly. And you know that hurt people hurt others. So the wisdom in communication also is, please do not try to apply logic to insanity. I don't want you to like come here and start to feel empowered and be like, I'm going to show up for myself and I'm not going to be the ghost or invisible. I'm going to be an advocate for myself and go and put yourself out there. And it's not that someone else is more powerful than you, but we can get ourselves trampled on if we walk into a herd of stampeding horses. And some people emotionally are just that. They don't have restraint. They don't see where you are feeling fragile, even if you're saying it. They're not in tune. They're more wrapped up in their own stuff, whatever that is. So to come out of being a ghost is the first step, is to assess what is the emotionally safe terrain for me. How much am I going to communicate? In this case, the romantic partnership. In what way am I going to communicate? The other thing that's very, very important to get out of ghost and invisibility and being visible, you got to set yourself up for success. When my man is driving in a new location, do you think I'm going to be like, hey, I want to talk about this thing that's really important and it's probably a trigger area for both of us? If he's grilling on the grill, if I bring this up, am I gonna feel seen and heard and all that? No, we have got to find the time that's gonna set us up for success. And so I give him cues and clues. I say, hey, there's something I want to talk to you about. Are you available right now? If he's at his computer typing away and he says, sure, and isn't looking at me, That is not emotionally available to me. That's him wanting to please me, which doesn't please me if I want undivided attention. And so we can't expect others to do for us more than what we're willing to do for us. When I have something important to communicate, when there's been something kind of lurking in the shadows and I'm going to bring it out, I absolutely give myself permission to take center stage in my life and his. And I'm going to wait for the right time. And if he says now is not a good time, or I'm busy, or I need to finish up something, I don't elbow my way in. I would much rather be heard than try to make something happen in that moment. So I've just seen so many times when a man would be agreeable to listen, to hear, and actually be open to it, but the situation isn't being set up for success. So make sure that you're looking for that. And then getting into sharing what's really important to you. Men are not your journals. Have that stuff processed out before you get to them. And they are not mind readers. And you don't want them to be. You want them to, the empowered masculine has a very provider, protector energy in it. So when you go to your man and share something, give him clues like, I just need you to hear me on this, or I need your advice on something, or I need help in fixing a situation, or I don't need help in fixing a situation. I just need you to be here with me on this. So when you give those cues at the beginning of the conversation, then Glenn, what goes on for you when you hear that?
Yeah, when you ask me and wait for the right moment, and it's not always going to be the right moment, but there's a bit of a preface that goes on that she asks me if I'm available to give her some advice or to listen to what's going on. And then sometimes we're just sitting together in the morning having coffee and we're sharing what our meditations were about and get into that conversation. One of the things that I think is very, very important for both partners is to really engage in active listening, like really be present. And it's not always easy to get a man to be present, but I will give you the secret sauce on how to get his attention. If this doesn't work, then you got some work to do. But to get your partner's attention, it's a very simple phrase. Darling, you know how much you mean to me. I really, and maybe I really respect your opinion. I really love what you do for our family. I really love, the key here is we as men need to know that we're making a difference in our partner's life. I can't tell you how important that is. And I can tell you that many men don't get that from their women. But this particular line will soften their heart, will get their attention. And then, would you mind if we had a conversation about, and it doesn't matter what it is. It can be as sensitive can be. It doesn't matter. Because what does a man want to do? What is it? If a man's or a partner, I want to keep it at partner. If a partner loves you, and especially the masculine partner, then they want to make you happy. It's simple. That's our true desire, is to make you happy. And I'm sure we can hear men saying, I can't make her happy no matter what. Well, maybe you're not listening, man. Maybe you're not sitting down and you're actually listening. Because I used to be the king of, oh God, here we go again, rolling the eyes and not paying attention. And I learned that it wasn't going to work. It's just not going to work like that. Like I have to be engaged, and there has to be emotion involved with this. Like it's a give and take. It's A speaks to B, B speaks to A. It's that active engagement that occurs, and to give, both of you will know when full attention is being given to the conversation. And with that, again, you can ask your man kindly, I don't need you to fix this for me. I just need you to listen to me. I really would appreciate it if you would just listen to what I have to say, and then we can have a conversation, but I don't need you to fix it for me. So you can reflect back to your partner what you've heard, which is important. I think it's really important to say, well, if I'm hearing you right, then what you're saying is you don't really like me going 120 miles an hour on the road when the speed limit is 70 miles an hour. Okay, I understand that. And then in an intimate way, the man could actually share, that's kind of my aggressive way of, beating everybody to the stop sign. And I'm working on it, and I see it, and I'll work on changing it, because I know that it really doesn't make you happy, and it gets me all stressed out too. So I'm in it. It's a partnership. And the man loves to know, again, this is important. Remember this. He needs to know that he makes a difference in your life. And once he knows that, once your partner knows that the partner is really making a difference in my life, it sincerely comes from your heart, it's like butter.
Mm-hmm.
Like butter. It's just he melts in your hand, because there's a connection there. There's an intimate connection, and that's what it's all about, is intimacy.
So this is one way that it can go, which might sound pretty idyllic or perfect, or a little even too good to be true. This is, in general, I would say, the mode of communication that Glenn and I are in at this point in our relationship. However, it's not the only type. When human emotions of fear of any form come up, fear turns to anger, turns to frustration, turns into whatever. Then domineering communication is another one. So there's the ghost of being super invisible, and then there's the dominating. This is the way it's going to be. This is what we're going to do. This is what I'm going to do. This is what you're going to do. Like all of that push. When domineering communication is going on between one or both parties, typically people are not hearing, and they're not in the active listening that Glenn was just talking about. They're only talking and they're not listening. So then there's not really communication going on. There's like two monologues going on. And bringing it down from domineering communication to a place that's not competitive, but it's collaborative, is when I will usually ask the question, what did you hear me say? Yeah. And when the emotions are flaring and it's all going so fast, and it's like, and people are often getting upset over something that wasn't actually said. It's what we thought we heard. It's what we made it mean. I mean, how many times have you gotten an email just seeing read, and then you go back and you read it, and it's like, that's not what they said at all, or the same thing in a text, right? And so I think it's really important to do your own check-in and make sure, again, getting out of that invisibility, and say, what did you hear me say? Because when you drop into that, you're dropping into the heart, you're dropping into love. And if both of you love each other and are available to love each other, then even if you don't like what's being said, you are available to hear what's actually being said.
It's like reflecting back what your partner has said to each. I mean, I love that. Gina does that with me regularly, because there are times when I've not understood what she said, but there's also the empathy, like empathizing with your partner, see the divinity in your partner. Don't see something different. See the divinity in your partner, and what he might feel like, or what she might feel like, or understand that, like have compassion. Part of having a really intimate relationship is having that empathy. And I've had to work on that myself, but I know what Gina's been through. She knows what I've been through. And we do have empathy for each other. And it comes out in our communication. We kind of smile and go, yeah, I understand. That was something else, or the form of communication changes when there's empathy and there's reflection and there's active listening. People are actually listening to one another and not off somewhere or judging, as the person's talking, oh, here she goes again. That's a judgment. Well, or here he goes again. That's a judgment. And then that becomes the truth. So there's really no space for empathy. There's no space for reflecting. There's just space for you being right, which Gina's talked about as far as controlling. So validating your partner's feelings is very important.
Mm-hmm. The next piece for communication is to not be afraid of confrontation. And so as little girls, many dysfunctional family dynamics did not have it safe for us to have our own opinion, let alone an opposing view, let alone something going down where an actual confrontation, not like a locking of horns needed to happen, but addressing a certain situation. And it has taken me years to become comfortable in confrontation out there in the world. Glenn and I have actively always made it a safe place when we know the other isn't going to necessarily be happy with what we need to discuss, but we don't shy away from confrontation. We know that it's part of life. We know that two different personalities, two different cultures, two different sets of desires are going to end up in different lanes at times. And so we know that confronting the situation, we're so committed to either finding the solution, whatever that's going to be, but not harboring resentment, not letting it build up because you're afraid to confront the situation. When that happens, whether it's finances, whether it's emotional intimacy, whether it's physical intimacy, the way you're raising children, there's so much material that can lead to eruption. And what we talked about yesterday, we've had this policy of like no brick gets laid between us. Friends, family member, team members will know we don't actually care who's in the room. If there's something that needs confronted, it's like he's a big personality and I'm Sicilian, so like it's a throwdown. It usually gets handled in about 2 to 5 minutes, and then someone's calling someone baby love, and then we're laughing and we've gotten to the solution and we're through it. But we do not self-abandon with each other. We will not go invisible. Doing something for another person is not the same thing as self-abandoning. If I know that there's something that's that important to Glenn and it's not going to have me be inauthentic to me, sure, I'll go in that direction. But if something is not my truth, I'm not going to kowtow to it. And trust me, neither is he. So that's where we really use our communication skills along with our miracle mindedness to believe that a solution exists. And the more we keep showing up for ourselves individually and showing up for the marriage collectively, the solution does always exist. It does always appear. But it doesn't happen if we're afraid to have those confrontational exchanges.
Absolutely, yeah. We have to be available. I'm here not because I need Gina. I'm here with Gina because I love her and I support who she is. And I love who she is. And so I think having that framework, because I grew up in a society and a family that had a very domineering father. It was his way or the highway. And I had those types of emotions in my relationships. And it just doesn't work. It's not, because my end game was to be joyful and happy. I mean, I made that decision at a very young age. So I'm going to live my life, regardless of what I do, I'm going to be happy. And being in a relationship where one's domineering the other, or there's this continuing bickering and you really can't stand being around the person. It just doesn't work. It's not joyful. It's not happy. So we either figure out how to change that and have a come to Jesus kind of conversation about, listen, we need to change this. How are we going to do it together? And I think, typically I think the woman more than not comes up with that, like, let's change it up. And then you work with this skill set, you practice and you be available, you validate your partner's feelings, and you use I statements that say, I can really see how you feel. I can feel how you feel, and do it in a non-confrontational way. It's not about confrontation here. It's like two cultures coming together, right? If it's a new relationship or it's a long-standing relationship, those memories of that culture are there, and they come together and they butt heads, and it's time to talk. It's time to have conversation. It's time to love one another, commit to what you came together for in the first place.
And I know we're talking a lot of, it seems like we're giving examples around those that are in relationship, but this counts for the dating scene too. When you're texting back and forth and getting ready to go on a date, it's like, what do you want to pick a spot to go and we can go? If your answer is no, you don't want to plan the date, then you get to say that. If it's like, hey, do you want to go for a hike? And you're more of a lunch kind of gal, then like, you get to say that. So you get to practice communication. These are communication skills, whether it's with the romantic relationship or any other relationship in your life. And now moving into the key of winning, where everyone gets to win.
Yeah.
And if it is possible, and some people make it impossible, so we'll get to that in a moment, but where it is possible for everyone to win, you always want to start with setting up the conversation, the confrontation, the communication, where it gets to be a win-win for everyone. And the only way that can actually happen is you so deeply considering you, and so deeply considering the other person. So if you're the super empath and like your go-to is like, think of the other person first, fine. Deeply consider that person and their needs and their desires. And you probably have that down to a millisecond. You can assess, what's really going on for them. But Jesus said, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You have got to be considered in the equation. So this can be more vulnerable for so many women. It can be harder to receive and see yourself. Like, sometimes it just seems easier to people please rather than actually like, I'm going to really deeply consider me. And so this will get you out of self-abandonment. This will get you out of resentment. This will get you out of being lonely, whether you're in a relationship or looking to call one in, to really show up for you and really show up for the other person. When we get triggered, it can be so filled with the toxicity of the wound and the hurt and the resentment and who could they and how could they. But then I know when I settle myself down and I think of that other person as a person, not as someone who wronged me, not as someone who's an idiot, not as someone who's totally annoying, not whatever judgment I put on this person, but this other person is a child of God. When I deeply consider that person, I can show up differently. Now, whether they receive it, get it, any of it, that actually is not the most important part in communication. The most important part is that you are clean in it, so that you're deeply considering that person, so the energy is clean. You also get to give yourself permission to set a boundary. Set a boundary for the way you're talked to, what's going on in the conversation, whatever dynamics need to shift. You count and you matter also. And when there is that, And people are emotionally, when two people are emotionally available for the win-win, it moves pretty swiftly and cleanly and clearly.
Yeah, there is no stronger communicator in this type of conversation. No, this is not about winning or being more clever or whatever words you want to use. This is about two lovers sitting in front of one another, getting through whatever it is they're getting through and coming out united and loving one another more than they did before. So there, I know that men and women can be really strong, and sometimes the other person is a little weaker, but there should be understanding there and communication where it's a win-win. Nobody gets to win in a true relationship. We just come out stronger and more intimate with one another.
Yeah. And strength is love. Domineering and insecurity are just two sides of the same coin. It just depends on how the wound is showing up. So I want to talk about communication when it's a little less than perfect. And everybody has to get this down. Nobody has the right to mistreat you in any way. It does not matter who they are. And there's a lot of women that have to get out of hope addiction, hoping that if you just say it this way, hoping that if you don't say it, hoping if you say it 1,000 different ways, hoping if you just don't have that desire anymore, hoping that one day the other person will change, hoping that if you jump through enough hoops and look pretty enough while you're doing it, and you are spiritually aligned enough as you're dancing through the rainbow, then there might be a possible actual acceptance of you. No. That's not a legendary love. That's not love at all. That's called a toxic dynamic where nobody ends up winning. And if that's the type of dynamic that you're in, then it is up to you, and you do have what it takes, as painful as it can be, as impossible as it might seem. You do have what it takes to unhook from that. And we're going to be going into some of that in the course that we're going to be teaching over the 7 weeks. And I want you to know that you being mistreated, spoken to in a poor fashion, spoken about in a negative fashion, gets to end here. You get to set the boundary. You don't get to control what the other person does, but you get to control how you show up. You get to control who has access to you, who actually is communicating to you in your presence in different ways. And that takes a lot of courage, because in this realm, there's so many yeah buts. But if I speak up, then what if he leaves? And if I speak up, what if he gets mad at that? What if I speak up, what if it gets worse? I can't say that because it's my husband, the father of my children, the one who's in charge of the money, all of the yeah buts. You came here to live a life victoriously. And in the beginning was the word. So using your words to empower you to have a life that's thriving. And, I know we're talking about the romantic relationship here, but it doesn't, any relationship in your life, you get to use empowering words to set boundaries and to set up thriving communication with absolutely everyone that you come in contact with.
If you're having difficulty setting boundaries, it goes back to what we talked about yesterday. If you're being triggered because you have emotions that are from the past, and you're allowing this to happen. You're allowing to have these feelings. And so changing your mind, changing your body in response to these emotions is key, because you can't resolve an issue from the place that it was created in. You have to change. It's mandatory. If you don't, the same feelings will come up. the same insecurities will come up, the same triggers will be pushed, and the same feelings will happen. And you got that whole cocktail being mixed up in your body, and you're back in the same old thing, whether it's depression, whatever it is. I know, I've been there, I've had it. The key to this is to develop new ways of thinking about who you are and who you desire to be. And once you start that model, once you start working in believing something differently than what you've believed in the past, you're going to set boundaries. You're going to set healthy boundaries. You're not going to be available to be controlled. Lots of things are going to change. And hopefully your partner sees that and they also want to change. That's the whole key, right? That's why relationships are able to repair themselves. Other times they're not, because one party is not willing to change who they are. But it is key, mandatory, because you'll keep feeling the same feelings and you'll get nowhere in the communication. You know, for me to hear from Gina that I'm, you know, like literally, I'm going to tell you right now, I've never had a woman tell me that I make a difference in their lives, and it melts me, and I become soft, and I become open to communication. Like, this woman really cares about me. This is cool. And that has to do with my issues. So I wanted to add that in. Go ahead, Gina.
Beautiful, beautiful. The most exciting part is your own commitment to transformation. We all have the areas in our life where we are so bored and so tired, being stuck, being in lack, being in the same push-pull dynamics, being in the same loneliness, whatever it is. And so this whole conversation that we're in is your opportunity to up level, your opportunity to commit more deeply to yourself than ever, your opportunity to transform and see how good are you willing to let life get, and how much are you available to outgrow all of the thoughts, feelings, emotions, and behaviors that have you stuck, depleted, bored, sad, depressed, and are just moving towards what else is possible. What else does God have in store for me? How can the relationship that I'm in be transformed? How can I, regardless of my age, regardless of my weight, regardless of how many times it hasn't worked out in the past, how can I possibly have the legendary love that I desire in this lifetime on this planet? So if that is for you, I want to invite you to join us. We're going to do a 7-week course, and you can go to divineliving.com/legendary love, I believe. And there's the full course curriculum of everything that you get, where we're going to be diving in so deep to the issues that aren't working, and then getting into the transformation. If there is one favorite word that I have in the English language, it is transformation. And I have had to transform pretty much every relationship in my life. My money story, my man story, my mother story, my business story, my branding story, and every time I get to the type of clients that I used to attract, the team, the whole thing, 50 years of on the planet, and what 2 decades of deep personal development has taught me is that when I become obsessed, when I become focused, when I absolutely declare this is going to be a non-negotiable, doesn't mean I know how it's going to happen, because if I did, I would have already done it. Same for you. Then you go into discovering, learning, educating, getting the information for the transformational skills and tools. And you do everything in your power to know. You're going to see week after week, you're going to be on this course, you're going to be in the Facebook group, you're going to be hearing other women ask questions. We don't have time here in our 3-day series, but in the live 7-week training, not only are we going to be presenting content, we're going to be doing live Q&A, coaching, role playing, all of it. You are going to pick up one piece, one after the other, that's going to fit into you transforming the relationship dynamics in your life, so that you are literally living with a legendary love. It's something that Glenn and I know a little something about, and we're so happy to be on the journey with those of you that are like, I am not going to be bored. I'm not going to be single. I'm not going to be alone. I'm not going to be in a boring long-term relationship. I am here to see what else is possible. So if you go to divineliving.com/legendary love, I should probably put my glasses on. I'm sure the team has put it. Yes, divineliving.com/legendary love. You'll see all of the details. The class starts on July 10th. So get yourself in. There's a welcome packet that you're going to fill out. There's a Facebook group that you're going to get into. There's materials to prepare you for this 7-week immersion journey. And I got to tell you, every time I leaned in and I listened and I learned and I got one more jewel and one more nugget and one more aha, something that it didn't change me, but it evolved me. It made me more whole to the person that I am. You're going to get so clear on, I mean, I went through yesterday, so I'm not going to do it again today, but you're going to see all 7 weeks of everything that we're going to go through in this course. It's what has been the elements that have given us the legendary love that we have going on 20 years. Coming up in 2024. So we feel very confident, very blessed, very honored, very humbled to be on this journey with you, because something that I started out yesterday with, we all know what heartache is, and that you are here trusting us with this most intimate area of your life. We don't take that lightly. And so that's why we are going to be going deep, and we're going to be holding you and seeing you, and tears will be shed and laughter will be had. That's what happens in all of my courses. If you're new to my courses, those alumni, you know what you're in for. And it gets you the results that you're craving. The only missing component at this point is you. You get to raise your hand and say, you know what, I'm not giving up. You get to raise your hand and say, I'm signing up. I want to be in this powerful dynamic. I want to give myself another chance. I want to get this information, and I'm going to show up differently for me. And somehow I know that me and God are a majority. So I hope that you take advantage of this amazing, amazing opportunity.
Remember what we talked about this morning? I think I'm going to go ahead and do it.
Well then, baby, yes, over coffee. Baby Love came to me with this idea, and I was like, well, you think about it.
You know, our company's name is Divine Living, and that didn't come by accident. I think it's one of both Gina and I's ambitions in life, and what we really enjoy is making a difference in people's lives. And Divine Living is an introspective look in making decisions. You know, how are you going to do your day? And we've worked on it really hard. We've worked on it as long as we've been together, and even before then. How are we going to make our lives joyful? And as I was coming out of my meditation, I just got like this word, like offer half-hour mentor sessions for everybody that signs up today. So you get to be with me, I get to be with you. You ask your question, and I would keep it to, you know, what is the real thing that you want to get through, and we'll work out a way to manifest a way for you to get through that one big issue. It'll be a half an hour for anybody that signs up today.
Woot, that is a private 30-minute session with Dr. Glenn A. Sisk. And since today is relative for different days and times, should we give people 24 hours, like until we do our class tomorrow? So anyone that signs up now, between now, booking my baby up, anyone who signs up between this moment and when class starts tomorrow, you will get a free 30-minute, and Glenn coaches men, and these packages are not inexpensive. So he coaches women too, but this is a real gift, is my point. So get in, go to divineliving.com/legendary love.
I consider it a joy, because this is what I love to do. You know, 25 years as a chiropractor, that's what I love to do. I love to go in and touch people and heal them. And it was through me. It wasn't about me. And it's the same as the coaching that goes on. It's through me. It comes from above and down. So I really look forward to it. And thank you. Thank you for
take advantage. advantage, ladies. You're going to get a man's perspective. I know Glenn has coached with so many of my private female clients. He privately coaches men as well. I don't remember him ever giving away a 30-minute private session to support you. So take advantage. Go to divineliving.com/legendary love. This is a fast action bonus that only will last until we are live at this time tomorrow. So for those of you that are here live, great, get on in and book it. You'll be able to use the session anytime during the 7-week course. So there'll be plenty of time for you to get that in. And for those of you listening to the recording, go ahead and click on the link. Not only are you getting early bird pricing, but you will get a disappearing fast action bonus with Dr. Glenn A. Sisk, a one-on-one private 30-minute session. So all of the details are on the page at divineliving.com/legendary love. The elements in the course, what the different subjects are for the 7 weeks, the time, the dates, the 90 minutes, the coaching, all of the great things there. So go on and get yourself in. I know that you're going to get so much out of it. And last words of advice, baby.
Yeah. So if you're not working it, it's not going to work. So I have a question. There were 2 kind of assignments given yesterday. I am, I can, I will. And every thought that you think, continue that on until tomorrow. And if there were no consequences or limitations, what would your perfect relationship look like? Like, you got to start changing your mind. The only way you're going to change your mind is start changing your mind. And so by changing your mind, you're writing down how you would like to see it differently, how you would like to feel differently. And you start feeling differently, then you start behaving differently. And it's a way it works. I can, I am, I will. Just try it. See how much joy you have. Just do it for 3 or 4 hours. You know, any thought that comes in, you say, I am beautiful. I'm with my king. I am. I can, I will. And then spend some time with yourself, just journaling. If there were no consequences or limitations, what would my relationship look like? Go for it. Why not? It's either going to get better or it's not, but let's do the work. Anyway, that's all I have.
When you've got that vision, and then I want you to use what you got from our time today, and go ahead and drop your nuggets. What's your big takeaway from your time here today? When you have that vision, and then you can clearly communicate at every different juncture of it, you get out of being the ghost. If you get out of being the domineering one, because what I wrote about in my book, there's compliance and there's defiance. And that's what that is. That compliance is just being invisible, being the ghost. Defiance is that it's my way or the highway. Neither of those are your true self. Your true self is in alliance. And when you as a woman learn to communicate like a queen, speaking the truth in love, deeply considering both yourself and another, lives change, circumstances change, the thing that you thought he would never agree to changes, the thing that you were gonna like go to the grave with changes. Like, lots happens when you start showing up and communicating in such a different way. So I want to say, drop in the chat, what's the #1 nugget you got for yourself about communication, or any of it today? Because I really, being present in communication, right? My nugget for today is that an empowered, strong, loving relationship with clear and loving communication is possible. Renew your mind. What, you think God had it any other way? I'm going to put all you humans down there and give you dysfunctional communication. That's not of the spirit. Absolutely, it is possible.
He gave us the inheritance of creating our life the way that we desire it to be. It's the gift. Take advantage of it. You don't need to be a ghost. Be out there. Be who you are. Be who you desire to be. It's a joyful life. It's a lot of fun. And it's not agonizing, besides.
Don't be scared of conflict. Telling him he made a difference in my life. I'm telling you, ladies, I never knew it could be so simple. It almost seems like it's a button that you can put, like, you got to mean it, of course, but you do mean it. And like any relationship, sometimes we can take the other person for granted. But when you actually stop and say, baby, do you know what a difference you make in my life? And by the way, I'd like to go to Puglia next week. Everything becomes a much bigger, or how about this with, baby, you make such a difference in my life. And it would make such a difference if I had a puppy. He was adamant about not having Davina. And I'm telling you, the communication changes everything. She's not dead. She's really just asleep because she sleeps 20 hours a day. But Davina, you want to say hi to everyone? Oh, I know I woke you up. Communication got me this, ladies. It'll get you a whole lot too.
Yeah. And, be wise, women. Be wise. Set the environment up. This is like the first time you say this to him, be at dinner or be alone, like be in your, whatever your sweet spot is. This is where you bring this up. This is where you say this, and you'll have his full attention. And the conversation that night will be like nothing you've ever had in your life. It works.
Mm-hmm. And here, I'll just share transparently this particular communication. So Glenn was sure he didn't want a dog, and I was sure that I did. And my historical pattern when it comes to be a domestic goddess is a little bit more of a piler than a filer, not gonna lie. And he said, I'm not adding a dog to this. You're like, your stuff is everywhere. And I said, all right, well, what if I create a new habit and I make a concerted effort to have my things organized and neat and put away? Well, we've been in Italy since February, and I haven't been perfect, but I have been much improved. And so I knew that was important to him. And he knew this was important to me. So, so communication around both of it works for us. So we know it's going to work for you too. So thank you so much for being here today. We have got part 3 tomorrow, so come join us for that. But make sure you get in on this very generous offer, private 30-minute one-on-one session with Dr. Glenn A. Sisk, disappearing bonus. It only lasts until we meet tomorrow at whatever time zone you're in. All right, everyone. Lots of love and see you then. Bye. Oh my goodness, how much did you love this conversation? Please go ahead and take a screenshot of this episode right now. And I want you to tag me on Instagram and share with me what your biggest takeaway was. I love being in conversation with you, hearing from you, DM me. And I really love getting what is the one big takeaway that you got from this episode. Let me know on Instagram.